Run the air. Oh, that was a good one.
That was a great one. That's one of the best ones we have done in a while.
That might be the best one yet. It's the
Nosebleeders.
It's the Nosebleeders. That's the song. The Nosebleeders.
And it just ends abruptly with that noise.
Yeah, on Broadway.
All right, Mike. All right.
I live in Times Square now. I moved.
The last time that we recorded, Tom Thibodeau was still the coach of the Knicks.
He was.
That was about, everything I feel like always happens the day after we record this. Like we never really get instant reacts on this show. We really just get like, here's what happened this week. I'm sure everyone's already been talking about it ad nauseum for 4 fucking days already, but here you go. Here's our shitty opinions that nobody cares about. All right.
Yeah. So the Knicks fired Thibs in what some would say is a shocking move. I thought he would get at least one more year. I also kind of understand why they would fire him. They didn't. It was a very strange playoff run. They overachieved and underachieved, which is not easy to do. So they underachieved against the Pistons, even though they won. They overachieved against the Celtics, and then they underachieved, especially game 1 against the Pacers. And then that was it. That was it was embarrassing the way they collapsed in game 1. They should have never lost it. It should have been a 3-3. You would assume 3-3 series, and it would have went to game 7. But let's face it, the Knicks still feel like they're a piece short of a championship team. And whether Thibodeau was the scapegoat or not, I guess they just felt they needed to make a change. Now, I will say, and I've been listening to a lot of radio, and the more I listen to it, the more I realize this definitely had James Dolan written all over it, because now they're talking about they want Jason Kidd. And I don't, Jason Kidd took the Mavs to the finals last year, right? Am I correct about that? I thought I heard that today on the radio. I don't remember. Once the Knicks are out, I just give up on. Once my teams are out, I'm done. So I lose track after a while.
Yeah, I'm with you. The only championships I'll watch the World Series and I'll watch the Super Bowl, of course. Yeah. But yeah, like Stanley Cup or NBA or WNBA or MLS or anything else, I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
If the New York teams aren't in it, there's really nothing for us to.
So yeah, I'm looking. So the finals last year, they played the Mavs. They beat the Mavs.
If you're gonna go with a former player, you got to go with Charles Oakley. That's who I want to be the head coach of the Knicks. Okay, that would be the one move choice Dolan could make that would gain fans' trust back and would also just be very funny.
It'll never happen, unfortunately. He can't even. He could barely get into the building. Apparently, he said some of the ban on him was lifted, but he and Patrick Ewing don't get along. So
well, it'd be really funny if he was the first coach that was partially banned from the arena. Like he had to stay up in the Chase Bridges section, where we sat before in the very top of the arena. He had to coach from up there. Like that would be very funny.
Yeah, he had a coach, and he's on the road. He had a coach next to Halliburton's dad in the suite or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I gotta say, I was shocked by it.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because they haven't made it this far the last time they made it this far, I was in like elementary school.
Yeah, it's insane.
So the fact is, you'd think they'd be like, hey, this guy got us further than anybody. Let's see if he can do the next thing, take the next step next year. But I guess somebody decided against it.
Yeah, with Thibs, so the last time the Knicks were in finals, Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson's dad, was on the team the last time they went to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's how long it's been.
Yeah. So
there's been a life form that came into the universe since then.
Exactly. So Thibodeau was a former Knicks assistant coach. It was him, Van Gundy, under Pat Riley, and then I think he stayed under Van Gundy. So he's been in the Knicks DNA for a long time, Thibodeau. So, it was not an eternal hire, but he's from the Knicks family, so to speak. He stabilized the team after all the chaos. Phil Jackson, Isaiah Thomas, and all these other Mike D'Antoni, and all these, Mike Woodson, and Mike Woodson wasn't that bad, but all these coaches that came and went
for 25 years.
25 years.
For a quarter of a century, okay? For 6 different presidential election cycles. is how long it had been since
Yeah.
the Knicks did anything really relevant and got this far. And that's why I really don't think that I don't know. I don't think he deserved the axe, and I think he's going to get hired somewhere else probably by the end of this month because he did great. And if what you're saying is true and they are a piece short, that means he took a team that was a piece short within like a win or two of the finals. And so that means that he's a pretty damn good coach.
Did you say wiener two or win or two?
I mean, hey, I say whatever you wanted me to say. Okay. If you only hear what you want to, brother, that is totally.
I heard wiener too.
Anyway. You heard wiener? Okay. Do you have hot dogs for dinner or?
No hot dogs on.
Or is Pride Month starting to get to you, and you're starting to think about trying a different kind of cuisine?
All right.
That's a gay joke, people.
That's a gay joke.
Gay joke. Okay.
We're gonna leave that where it lies. So, getting rid of Thibodeau. To me, you know what it felt like? It felt like the last time I experienced anything like this was when the Yankees fired Buck Showalter because it was the same thing. I thought you were
going to say Girardi.
No, because I can, at least, in my years of watching sports, I can relate to the era where the Yankees were horrible. They were an embarrassment, and it was just horror story after horror story. And then Buck Showalter comes along, minor league coach in the Yankee system, and gets the team stable. So 92, they take fourth place, but they're not as crappy. There's some hope. They get Danny Tarnable. 93, they get O'Neill and Boggs and Jimmy Key. They finally hit first place for the first time in years, even though they didn't end up winning the division, but they did hit first place at one point in 94. It looked like World Series bound, but the strike, and then we know 95 happened, and that was it. And that was
R.I.P. Expos.
That was and that was Buck Showalter's team and Gene Michael's team, general manager, that Joe Torre took. Not complete. I mean, obviously they made trades, but he got them to where they needed to be a winning team. Joe Torre took over. And remember, nobody wanted Joe Torre. They thought,
Clueless
Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody thought, because he had to been a losing manager in certain respect. Like with the Mets, I don't think he did well. I don't remember what he did with the Cardinals, but nobody thought of him as winning. So I hope this story turns out the same, that maybe whoever comes in here, if it's Jason Kidd or whoever, they get what they need. And I there's so many rumors right now you don't know. I hope they do something to get a guy like Giannis, that big of star power.
Oh, if they got a top shelf superstar, that'd be terrific.
I'll take Giannis. I'll take Luka. I'll take Jokic. Any of the big. I'll take SGA. They won't. I mean, they're obviously not going to get most of these guys, but Giannis, you can get him. Go get him.
If somehow magically he's available, absolutely. There'll be a lot of suitors for that. Though.
Yeah.
I'll say this though: whoever comes in is going to kind of have some big shoes. Because let's say a year from now, they go to the playoffs and they get knocked out in the first round like they had been routinely over the last couple decades.
Then it's bad.
There's going to be a lot of people who are like, hey, come on, you couldn't even do as good as Thibs did.
Yeah. And I hope that by getting Jason Kidd, this isn't like the shiny pick. Like, oh, we'll get Isaiah Thomas. He's a former championship winning point guard. We'll get Phil Jackson. He won with the Knicks. And
that was fun. That was a fun era when he was with the Knicks for 2 or 3 years and didn't really do shit to help the team improve. And
no, he was too busy trying to run the team like a 90s Bulls team. And the Knicks like, we don't do that. And I think that's what people are saying about Thibs, is that he was too old school, which, look, the Knicks had no paint game. Yeah. The problem, what the problem is with the Knicks is it's a gift and a curse having Jalen Brunson. So you don't want to put your superstar in a position, I think you're doing it, where everything just relies on him, because they would give Jalen Brunson the ball and everybody would clear out and they would just let him dribble around until he took a crazy shot and either a foul or made in the shot. And it's like, how do you run an offense like that? Like, you got Cat, you're not going to put him in the paint. And I know nobody plays basketball like that anymore, but they should. You play basketball.
I mean, we watch a lot of old footage on here, whether it's commercials or brawls, and I think this league could use an injection of old school ball, because everyone I know who knows a lot more about basketball than I do, which, by the way, is a lot of the like New York City. I didn't grow up in New York City. Mm-hmm. A lot of people that grew up in New York City grew up playing ball, even if it was only casually down at the park or whatever, or the local court, because that's just what you did. You're a dude from New York. You watch the Knicks. You play basketball at summertime. School's out, and so the thing I've noticed is that people here, they understand what is happening from the outside.
Yeah.
And so when they make head scratcher moves like this, I think the hatred for Dolan just kind of starts going up and up and up and up. You know what I mean?
I think the guy from Fox Sports, his name is Jay Wright. I think his name, is that what it is? Not Jay Wright. It's one of the guy from Fox Sports was making a great point saying, the Knicks started doing well because James Dolan was off building Sphere in Vegas, that stupid Sphere thing. So he was like, all right, Leon Rose, you take care of the team. And now that the Knicks are great, James Dolan's back, sitting courtside with his fedora, looking like, I don't know, creepy uncle, whatever.
Getting ready to do a set with his cover band.
Yeah, his cover band. And then he's like, oh, I'm into the Knicks now. And then, maybe that's why he got involved and said, we got to get rid of what's-his-face because we should have been in the finals, and that's what I'm paying for. But he also said it was still probably the right move to make, even if, so, maybe Dolan is a broken clock and he got this right. I don't know.
Only time will tell. And that's the thing. Oh, there's back to what I was saying before. So people who are like old school that know the sport, the New Yorkers, the people, the casual, the people who play, anyone who even casually knows the sport will tell you that the sport's gotten soft. It's gotten soft over the last 25, 30 years. There's less really good fights. We know that from doing this show, obviously. And also, too, the game, it really is just a 3-point competition half the time. There's not as much driving. And there's not as much physicality, really. And I think that the league could use an injection of dudes getting knocked over, dudes getting an elbow to the throat every now and then. I think that'd be more exciting. I think the product was better back then. And that, maybe this is just like a get off my lawn moment. But I talk to a lot of fans that have been following this way more intently than me their whole lives. And they're like, no, the sport is kind of lame now. And we really hope that they do kind of what baseball did, and they put some rules in place to try to make the product what it was a few decades ago, because it was objectively more exciting back then.
Yeah, and what's weird, like, in mentioning that, it's weird because baseball kind of went off the rails, and then they had to put rules in to get it back to a game, and it's like, but you kind of ruined it in the first place.
I think Manfred's an idiot for a lot of things, but the ratings have consistently gone up, and attendance has consistently gone up in all but like a few of the markets for baseball. And so I'm hoping, and again, it's really not an apples to apples comparison, because the arenas are smaller in basketball, and it's a summer versus winter kind of thing. But I do think that in the terms of the way that the sports have kind of changed and had to adjust, I don't know what rules I personally would put into place, because I don't know the sport enough to know the nuances to how to turn those type of screws. But people that know more than me could be like, oh yeah, you got to make it so, people shoot from there or whatever, or make it so point guards can't stand there, whatever the thing that needs to be done is. I think it's time for basketball to make the radical change the way that baseball did with like the pitch clock and all the kind of other stuff.
Yeah. And all sports have changed over the years, and they change to update with the progress or the decline of the sport, or if a certain player comes along. And like you saw with the Knicks, they figured out, not entirely because they were still able to hit threes, but they knew they had to stop the Celtics from hitting so many threes. So they developed a defense to make sure they didn't just shoot threes all the time, and that's how they were able to win. So, like, I get it. You get more points. It's just analytics stuff, I feel like. It's just there's a lot more than just the numbers on the page. It's the guys on the court. And, you take a guy like Cat, there was a couple plays where he did drive to the hoop. It's like, do that more often. This is the home of Patrick Ewing, who would stand in the paint and back up on a guy and catch the ball and do a turnaround jumper. Like, it works. Like, those Knicks teams are more successful, so it definitely needs something. Not that I'm not saying it's entirely bad. I'm not saying that, but it's
this is again why we need to have Charles Oakley for head coach of the Knicks.
Just go fight that guy.
All right, let's change gears. Mets. I think with the Rockies, Mets are doing great. They're back in first again by a bunch of games. The Phillies are starting to fall off. Good for them. I haven't really paid that much attention because I've been.
Soto's been good.
I was hoping Brian would be back. Soto is hitting again, which is good for my fantasy team. Okay, so as far as the Yankees go, they lost 2-3 to the Red Sox, gave up 27 runs in 3 games. That is effing embarrassing. The bullpen, just to me, it looks gassed. They look gassed. They look like they're tired. When you take Weaver out, everybody kind of has to move up a notch. There really isn't that much depth. Loaizaga hasn't found his rhythm yet this year. Hamilton hasn't found his rhythm yet this year. You have a couple of good bullpen pitchers, and you have a bunch of guys who just haven't found the rhythm, Williams included. And so it really is a very shaky pen right now. This is probably the least secure I've felt about protecting small leads as I've felt in a number of years. And hopefully we can get some guys back from, injury Cousins, some of these guys. And I think that the main thing I'm looking forward to right now is doing what Matt Blake has done with other pitchers the last 4 or 5 years, where you find a couple of guys who have 5 ERAs and some team that no one's even thinking about, and you go, hey, I'm going to make them great. And you go get them. Because this pen needs like 2 or 3 good arms right now, and they don't have it. And look, Boston's. The only reason why these games were even close is because Boston's pitching is terrible. But the thing is, Boston does have a good offense, and they expose the shit out of the very, very shallow pen the Yanks have right now.
Yeah, and nobody I think expects Boston to keep playing the way they were. They're probably on an upswing and leave it to the Yankees.
They've been playing crappy. They just happen to run into a beaten down Yankee bullpen. They're gonna lose. They're gonna lose fucking 4 or 5 games in a row, and then probably beat us again next weekend.
Because the Yankees, there's some reason with the Yankees. It's like when there's pressure. When it's your rivals, it makes a big. It's like this Boston team they're very beatable right now. You should have taken advantage of it. So
they should have swept them and buried them, put them 15 back, and gone, hey, you're sellers this year. See you next year. And they had an opportunity to fucking do that, and they didn't. And now they're gonna play them again next weekend, and we'll see what happens, man.
This Aaron Boone era, to me, I just don't see the killer instinct in the Yankees like we saw in the 90s. They I don't know, maybe the game has changed, or maybe it's his style. He's still seeing a lot of defensive errors, making basic mistakes you're not supposed to make. That's been very common with Aaron Boone's teams. So, as good as he is in a lot of ways, that doesn't mean the negatives don't exist. And to me, I'd like to see them fix that stuff, because they got rocked by the Dodgers, and now they're getting rocked by Boston. And it's like, when these big games matter, we saw them lose early to the Diamondbacks, and it's
and that's just it. Is it all 3 of the teams you just named have one thing in common? They have very good offenses. Yeah. And the only reason why the Yankees even made the World Series last year was because they went up against teams that had weak offenses and had like okay pitching. So they were able to slug their way to winning a bunch of high-stress games against Cleveland and KC to make it the whole way. But then when you run into the Dodgers, you get the shit knocked out of you. And, the Diamondbacks early this year, they won 2 out of 3 at the stadium. They have a really good offense. The Red Sox just won 2 out of 3 at the stadium. They have a really good offense. Yeah. Teams that have good offenses don't really get slowed down by this pitching staff unless it's specifically Max Fried. And Rodon had a good year. He had 1 bad outing. It was yesterday, but he's had a good year. But unless one of those 2 guys is on the mound, everyone else is pretty shaky. I mean, Warren is still showing a lot of rookie.
He's a whole other story. Yeah, he gets an asterisk for his Dodgers. It's almost like he got to wear that at badge of honor. Like, he got rocked. It's a horrible feeling. I'm not saying you like it, but you experienced it, learn from that.
Exactly. That's what growing pains is. But the thing is, he had a better outing in the next outing too. Yeah. Someone like that, experience. It's kind of a good thing for him in the long term, because he can take that and be like, hey, you know what? It's never going to be that bad again. So, you have to think of it that way. But this team right now, the bullpen's the issue. The offense hasn't been bad. The offense scored runs in all 3 games. They just didn't score as many because the bullpen could not hold even a shallow deficit. That's kind of where we're at the Yankees right now.
Let's see if Stanton comes back with his elbows and with both of them, and Luis Gil at some point. But everybody's guessing the Yankees are going to make some big trades at the deadline, because I think this year they're going to be all in.
Third base and a couple of bullpen arms and possibly a starter is what I think they're looking for. But we'll find out in the next few weeks, because Cashman always leaks the things that he's looking for, kind of, sort of. Yeah. And then he always trades for somebody that you didn't expect him to trade for. So, hey, you know what? Let's go for the ride.
And then he gets a shitty, overrated pitcher. He's supposed to be great. He blows it now. Who are you saying? The guy on Arizona, Suarez? Maybe?
So if Arizona continues to fall out of it,
they lost Corbin Carroll.
They lost Corbin. No, they lost Corbin Burns. They still have Corbin. They have a great offense. Different Corbin. Okay, get your Corbins right, Mike.
Sorry.
I'll say this: if they don't make a trade to try to replace him right away, they're already below 500, and there's 3 teams above them in that division. unless they have a monster next month or so, I could see them being sellers this year. From what I understand, they have some infielded prospects in that system, so they would be willing to part with somebody like a Suarez. That'd be a perfect fit for the Yankees because he's got power and he plays a great third base. You'd be taking a position that's been a void for just a black hole for the last few years. And this year, instead of having black holes at first and third, you have Goldie and Suarez. That is ridiculous.
I almost wish they got Nolan Arenado. He was just having a decent year.
Yeah, right? I mean, whatever. Take it or leave it. I personally would rather have Suarez because I think at this point in his career he's a little better. But I'm not anti-Arenado if that's what they end up doing. The problem is his contract is heavy, and so they would need to find a way to get the Cards to eat a lot of that. So
they should say no.
Right. So we've been rambling for too long. Let's get to the reactionary part of this situation here.
All right, so we got some commercials. I've been sitting on these for a little bit because there's a lot going on. So these have been in the backup within the holster.
These have been in the vault for when we both had busy weeks and couldn't find stuff. All right, cool.
Exactly. So we got this one. This is a Pepsi Max commercial. You may have seen this, the Field of Dreams commercial. It's pretty astounding. So let's watch this one.
Was this the one that has like CC? Yeah, didn't we do this one?
Pepsi taste.
I don't think we did.
I thought we did this one. Oh, whatever. We'll do it again.
We meant to.
Tommy. THO. Sorry I yelled at you all these years.
I understand.
Ricky wins again.
Ricky.
Can I get a brat? Cece. Glad you made it.
Where'd they come from?
We put the machine out here. They came and never left.
What is this place?
Iowa. Only with maximum Pepsi taste and 0 calories.
Whoa.
I love it when he does that. Pepsi Max, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball.
There we go. A lot of good current. Well, actually, they're all former stars now for the most part. But actually, I don't think there's any current players left in this commercial unless there's one.
Yeah.
Because this is Evan Longoria in his Rays uniform. So this this is about roughly 15 years old.
Yeah.
Then everyone else is retired players.
Jim Thome on the Twins there.
A Babe Ruth reference.
Carlton Fisk. And what's interesting is even the older players, you can tell they've aged, but they don't look that old, as they've.
Oh, a lot of them. Well, the thing is, a lot of these guys, all they knew was being a jock their whole life. So even though they're not playing on like an official team anymore, they still work out and shit because that's what it is. I met Pedro Martinez about 5 years after he retired, and he was so jacked he looked like he could still pitch. You don't just turn these dudes off. Some guys, I'm sure, get fat or lazy, but most of them, that's all they've known their whole life is just traveling with teams and working out and being in shape. So they just keep doing it. So that's why, because they're all dudes who know how to stay in shape because it's all they've known.
So I'm looking. No, you're right about that. I'm looking at Ozzie Smith here.
And that's funny as hell.
I know he used to do that, but I'm wondering for this commercial, if this is clearly a stunt double, and then
is there a cut right here?
They kind of CGI'd his face. Well, he does his jump up and then he jumps down, so it looks like there could be a moment where they cut it. So let's just see. In one of those beats when he flips. I don't know if maybe he still can do it. Or
you're the editor, so you notice the nerd stuff. We're gonna dissect this Pepsi Max commercial from 2011 or whatever.
I'd like to think Ozzie Smith can still do that, but I don't know. He's what, in the 60s now, early 60s, so you never know.
But he was a short enough guy to where his center of gravity. Yeah, who knows, right?
Yeah. So, but and there's I like how there's no Nike logos on any of the jerseys too.
See, I just missed his career because I only knew him as the This Week in Baseball guy when I was a little kid.
Yes, that's right.
And because he hosted that for years. Right. And so I never got to actually see him play. But from what I understand, he was really effing good.
Defensively, he didn't really have the offensive numbers. Yeah.
They went with the Oakland Eckersley uniform as opposed to any other uniform that he may or may not have worn.
Cleveland, and he's been around the block. But I guess he won MVP as a reliever with Oakland, I believe. So and a cycle. I think something like that. I think
he's got a hell of an arm.
Yeah. All right. More baseball.
That was fun. I swore we did that one before, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, we meant to, and then I think we cut it last minute. But you never know.
Cool.
We did it again. Man, you never know.
Who cares?
Britney Spears.
Right, what do you got next, Buggy?
All right, we got a classic commercial. Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle and Bugs Bunny. Let's take a look at this one.
Hi, I'm Roger Maris. You know you can get baseball trading cards free on Post cereals. A whole bunch on every package, with rundowns on the 200 top Major League stars. So get Post cereals and start collecting your baseball trading cards now.
Just a little bit better. Hey, Johnny! Post cereals have free baseball trading cards. Free baseball cards? Yeah, one on the packages. Here's Post alphabet. And they're also on 9 other Post cereals. You just cut them out of the back. Hey, you've got 6 different cards on alphabets. And here's Mickey Mantle. He's my favorite. Why, he can really shag those flies.
Well, kids, baseball season's here again. And with Post Cereals baseball trading cards, you can get a rundown on all your favorite players.
I'll trade you Big Glove for Eddie Matthews. What did he hit last year? 325. All right, I'll trade you. How many stars can we get? 200.
That's the pitch, kids. 200 different major leaguers in color. So start your day a little bit better with Post Cereals and start collecting your free baseball trading cards today.
All right, so I thought maybe it's on here somewhere. I thought there was. Yeah,
credits to tvdays.com, by the way.
There isn't one with Bugs Bunny on here. I didn't realize it was they didn't explain what was in this video. So anyway, we'll save the bit.
Yeah, credit to that channel for putting this up. And I gotta say, the whole I forgot what the word is for when you're feeling nostalgic for an era that you never existed in. But when I see commercials like this, I feel that because this was during an era where baseball was the most popular sport in the country. It was like a cultural kind of focal point, way more than it ever will be again, probably.
Right.
And this is just, this has that feel, that old school feel of you can see yourself being a kid in the neighborhood, going to the local park and riding your bike around. It's just cool, man. I think this is excellent. It's a great find.
Yeah. This kid is wearing a communist, looks like a Fidel Castro.
yeah. I don't know where that came from.
I want to look at the names in the back here. Bobby Shantz, I've heard of. Bill Mazeroski hit the famous home run to beat the Yankees. Mickey Mantle, obviously. Ron Santo. Pete Burnside, I never heard of. Dick Williams, I believe I've heard of.
And they had a guy named Dick Groat.
Dick Groat.
This is a commercial with 2 dicks in it.
A couple of dicks, yeah.
Two dicks in this commercial. Double dick reference here.
Well, if you're a fan
penetration in this commercial.
If you're a fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Larry David makes up a fake disease called the Dick Groat syndrome. So that's how I heard it's Dick Groat. I didn't star.
Yeah, Dick. I have no idea who this. I'm
looking for the Pirates. What was his numbers? That doesn't really say much.
Let me. You know what? We're gonna ask the baseball reference, and for those of you who've never watched us before, who maybe know who this person is, and you're thinking, wow, these guys must be idiots. Yes, we are idiots, and we oftentimes do learn in very real time on this show about past players and stuff. Let's see here. 36.8 career WAR. Yeah, this guy was really good. Let's see. He played for Pittsburgh, and then he had a couple other teams at the end of his career. He played for the Pirates back when they were apparently way better. Gotta feel for Pirates fans, man.
So I'm looking at these cards, and it just dawned on me. These look like the backs of cards, but I guess that's all they did. Like if you cut them out, there was nothing on the other side.
I assume that there was perforation, or do you have to take a pair of scissors to it?
It's hard to tell. Maybe there was perforation, but I think pretty much it was you cut them out. Because they when I was growing up, they had that like a back of Hostess Twinkie boxes. You got to cut out the card and stuff.
Man, back when kids actually cared about baseball, I'm just picturing the number of kids who cried in the cereal aisle. Like, I want to get some Post cornflakes because there's a, just think about it. They're all if these are actually randomized in the back of each box, I can just picture kids going through the aisle, like looking at the back of the box to see which one they're going to try to get their parents to buy and shit.
Right.
That's cool. Again, this is super cool. I actually really like this. This is cool.
Yes, this is so. Yeah, but again, I think this was only a one-sided card, and it looks like the back of most baseball cards look. Because there would be like a full photo picture on the front with the guy's name,
and then stats in the back. Yeah,
stats with the description and all that. But I guess there was nothing on the other side. I have to look on eBay.
So this is early '60s, I assume, because it says 1960. Assuming that's the previous year, at time of printing or filming this commercial. This is very early '60s is what this looks like.
This is another penis reference by Roger Maris. It's just
so that's a triple penis reference. A gangbang of a commercial, if you will.
He's saying Mickey Mantle. I've seen him.
Go back a few frames. What are the names of these cereals? Because some of these don't exist anymore. Some of these do not exist. Okay, Corn Flakes does still exist.
Sugar Crisp is still around. Alpha Bits is still around. Raisin Bran, but Grape Nuts Flakes. I guess they still make them. Grape Nuts.
They do.
You ever eat Grape Nuts?
Just Grape Nuts. The original. They're gross. Grape Nuts Flakes are way better.
It's like cat litter. That's what it looks like. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
Oat Flakes. No, I mean,
I don't think I've seen Oat Flakes ever.
They're very generic names, So.
Well, this is before they got into like the cartoony marketing. This is more like the baseball marketing of it, right?
Yeah. Let's see what same ones here.
Grape Nuts Flakes.
The kids.
The Energy Flakes.
The Energy Flakes. Yeah.
And there's a cartoon of a kid with a whole mouthful of just somebody stuffed a bunch of cereal into his mouth. That's what it looks like. That's
what AI looks like in human form. It's just words in a mouth, and they just come out.
This is cool. I don't know. I never knew that was a thing. Obviously, I mean, this is like when my dad probably was only 5 or 6 when this came out. So I mean, it was way before my time. That's cool.
Same. So
all right, we got one more, 2 more. What do we got?
We got 2 more. Let's see. Let's go to this one. There's another baseball ad with Joe Garagiola, 70s ad.
Hi, this is Joe Garagiola. Since the All-Star Game first began back in 1933, a total of 41 Hall of Famers have played in the All-Star Games. Now, I never made it as a player, and that must be what kept me out of the Hall of Fame. But I'll be there with Kurt Gowdy and Tony Kubek this year for all the excitement of the 1974 All-Star Game. There'll be plenty of action, and NBC Sports has it all.
Amazing footage and effects.
The frame rate drives me a little nuts on here because there's a lot of the random freezes here. It looks for those of you gamers, there are a bunch of lag spikes in this, but
look at this frame right here. The guy first, this is action packed. Who is it? It looks like you got astigmatism.
That's the old turf fields too. When the only dirt was around the bases.
Horrible.
I haven't seen one of those in 20 years, easy. But those are you see where the dirt's only around the bags.
It's like space, like games in outer space or something. Yeah, terrible.
Didn't Toronto used to have a field like that? And
Toronto, Phillies, Astros, a lot of teams. Yeah, it was supposed to be the field of the future.
I do like how yes, Mike. Now that you mentioned the whole action packed, the footage they used was not a home run, but a ball off the wall. And then also the pitcher getting a line drive off the shin in the beginning, like this. Is that right here in the beginning? Yeah, guy takes a liner off the shin. Yeah, come watch these guys get injured on Tuesday night. Like,
I guess it's All-Star Game footage. Is that what it is?
Maybe they couldn't. Yeah, I guess they couldn't have found a home run or a double or like a really cool diving catch or anything.
Like this is
they went with a liner off the shin and a regular ground out and a ball off the wall.
Yeah, I don't know. The biggest effect is the font, guys. Look, we don't have a budget, but we have fonts.
They spend all their budget on the font, and they can only afford the worst stock footage from the league. That's got to be what it is.
Oh my god! Yeah, I guess this is from the previous All-Star Game, and they're just saying, "Hey, this year's will be more fun than this because this game looks awful."
Okay, can we talk about the All-Star Game just in general for a minute? Yeah. Baseball, I think, is missing an opportunity that they need to start taking better advantage of in terms of the marketing of it. Because during the time that the All-Star Game exists, which is typically early to mid-July.
Mm-hmm.
There are no other sports on television.
No.
Hockey and basketball are done, and it's like barely the beginning of some training camps for football.
Yeah.
They should make a whole effing weekend out of it instead of putting it on like a stupid Tuesday night. And they've gotten a little better at it with like the Futures game and stuff. But no, they need to have, instead of, the regular season Sunday games being the finale and then like a regular during the week All-Star break, they need to have an All-Star weekend like basketball does. And you know what I mean? They need to have like a Friday night Futures game, Saturday skills competition, and then Sunday put the All-Star game at like, don't put it at 8:30 at night on Fox on a fucking Tuesday. No. Put it at like 5:30 in the afternoon or 6 on a Sunday, the same time the Super Bowl is. So anybody that wants to watch some sports, or even casual fans that don't care that much, hey, they might put it on and say, hey, what's going on, in baseball this year? I can kind of catch up and, learn about the first half of the season, whatever, who's good this year.
Documentaries, make it
they really need, they need to do a better job of that. They need to do a thing where, if you're going to do the whole break thing, great. Do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday series leading into the week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and Monday off, and do a whole 5 days off, make a whole weekend out of it, market the shit out of it, make it a whole event instead of just doing like some minor stuff,
Hello, Rob Manfred?
Yes.
You got to get him on the phone.
Home run.
I like this.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
And I just pulled it out my ass, okay? But it was something I was thinking about earlier, like,
I like it.
Futures Friday, home run derby, and skills competition Saturday afternoon, home run derby Saturday evening, All-Star game Sunday. Tell me you wouldn't watch all of that. Come on. Fucking ridiculous. Come on, Rob. Get to it.
When you thought of this, were you in a normal state or were you under the influence of it? Is this one of your late night brainstorming?
No, this is probably something I thought of while sober.
All right, see?
Because if I was under the influence,
I'd be like flying alligators.
Yeah, I'd be like, no, hey, I got an idea for the All-Star game. We're gonna take, you know those Dodgers dogs. We're gonna replace all the bats with Dodgers dogs just for that game, like something stupid.
And then you can eat it.
Yeah. If you hit a double, you're allowed to take a bite when you round first base.
It's great.
Yeah,
no, I like this idea. Make it a weekend thing.
Make it an All-Star weekend. It's the only. Again, it is the only goddamn sports on television. ESPN literally does ESPN 8 the Ocho now during the summer. They do the hot dog eating contest as a televised event because there's no sports. If baseball would take advantage of that and actually do a weekend out of it, it might help people fucking go on.
Especially with all the influencers. Think of all the side content you're going to get from the influencers who get to go there on the weekend. You do Friday through Sunday, and then Monday you have off. Like most people have off on a holiday Monday instead of, there's no baseball Tuesday to Thursday. Well, that sucks. It's just a weird break.
Drink and smoke anyway. Make it the weekend. Make it the thing. I mean, I'm telling you, they need to just make it, again, put it at 6 in the afternoon like the Super Bowl is.
Yeah.
It would be the biggest sporting event probably of the summer because there's nothing else going on. Like by default. I mean, I'm sure there's some random NASCAR race that people would watch more or whatever, but yeah, no, people that want to watch team sports, there is literally nothing from now until, if you don't like baseball, there's nothing from now until September. So, dude, come on, Rob. Let's go. Let's get to it.
Yeah. All right, last one. Yeah. No, it's a good rant.
Let's close this out.
We got a 1980 Nerf football commercial. So
I already love it. Let's go.
Here we go.
Nerf football, rah, rah, rah. You can watch it go. Nerf football, rah, rah, rah. Easy to catch and throw. You can go for the long bomb. Punt and retrieve. It's easy to grip when you pass or receive. Nerf football, rah, rah, rah. You can watch it go.
Nerf football from Parker Brothers.
So of course,
Of
course, the black kid is the one that outruns everybody and scores the touchdown. Okay, if we're gonna go with stereotypes, they went with the racial stereotype for a kid's toy commercial.
Why do all the kids look like they were on the Bad News Bears in 1980? They all have that same mop haircut, bleach blonde.
And that I don't know the name of the shirt with like the colored sleeves and the white. That was a thing that I think people wore back in the day.
Yeah. So 80s.
Oh, also shout out to Retropolis for uploading this. I've never even heard of them, but thank you. We're doing some weird React content to your uploads here.
Yeah, this is 1980, so I wasn't born yet. I would be born the next year. I think all these kids are in jail now. No, I don't know. I think it's right. You always do those. Behind
statistically speaking, one of them is dead, and at least one of them is in jail. That's probably true.
Probably.
You don't got to go dark, okay? Let's focus on the good stuff here. You got kids who are having a lot of fun playing football in long pants for some reason in the summertime. Like, why the fuck? Anyway.
Could be the fall. I don't know. Squeezing the football. It's a giant sponge. I bought a Nerf football for my nephew. So we were over there this weekend. And the only thing is it was a smaller one. I got it at that store Five Below, and it was so light, like you couldn't even throw it. So
I'm gonna
have to get a bigger ball. Like this was the Nerf football was just that. It was just a giant orange piece of foam. And then they came out with the Nerf Turbo. That's what I gotta look up, a Nerf Turbo football. I know we did something with John Elway, but when the Nerf Turbo football came out, it changed sports forever. Because that thing was supposed to go farther than anything. And then they put a whistle in it. So when you threw it, it went.
Yes, I know what you're talking about. Right on the
your
side,
hands and it would hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, if you held it wrong, it would hurt.
Yeah. Nerf football.
I had a football when I was a kid that had fins on the back of it. So even if your spiral wasn't perfect, it would fix itself in the air somehow.
Right, yeah.
I'm not a physicist, but
something like that. Not aerodynamic enough to know. Yeah. No, this is great.
This looks like fun,
Doing the Billy White shoes dance. There you go. Yeah, I didn't know Nerf was owned by Parker Brothers either. I thought they were their own entity, Nerf.
That was a good closer.
That was a good closer. It was
a lot of nostalgia today, Mike.
A little nostalgia, a little feeling good.
You made me want to be. You made me want to be a kid again. But
go outside and trade your baseball cards. And there's a game. I'll say this briefly. I just saw, and it's too expensive. I can't get it. But there was an old game called Stratomatic Baseball. You ever hear of Stratomatic Baseball?
You mentioned this on the show before, and we looked for a they're available on eBay. People have them still.
You play with cards, and it was fantasy baseball before computers. Well, now they have a Stratomatic app, and you could do it on your phone, but it's like $15 for 3 months, which sucks. But I really want to play. You run your own team and do
if you want to play fantasy baseball, my league always needs more people because. Finding dudes who are big enough nerds to be committed to fantasy baseball that's another level because football
you got to do it every day.
It's 2 or 3. Absolutely, you have to do it like football. You do it mainly one day a week, and then you swap guys around if you got players on the Monday or the Thursday game. Yeah. But fantasy baseball. And this is totally true. I set reminders on my phone to check it 3 or 4 times a day. You have to, because if somebody gets benched, you got to put somebody else in. You got to have your pitchers. You got to have your starting pitchers swapped in and out. You got to have enough guys who have versatile utility men to put in on a slow day like today when there's not many games. If there's only 10 games going on in the league, you got to have your utility guys that you can swap into your positions. It's a whole science,
You can join mid-season?
No, but I can talk to Mish for next year to maybe add you in.
All right, maybe we'll see.
All right.
All right. Good show. Right. Maybe we'll be back with Brian next week. We don't know. He's doing a lot of stand-up, which is great. So
good for him.
Hopefully we'll be back. We'll see. Have a good rest of your week, kids.
All right. Definitely. See you later, man.
See you later.